Welcome to Better Odds Sports Betting. Here's our hosts, Kiev O'Neill and Kyle Hunter.
What's happening, everyone? Back with Better Odds Sports Betting. Kyle Hunter in the flesh right here. Talk about a huge weekend in college basketball. Kyle, how you doing?
Doing well, man. We got a good weekend of college basketball. No football, only one more game left. Obviously, I'm bummed about the Bengals. I won't expand on that too much, but
I've done enough of that for you this week, I think.
I don't want to recreate that too much, to be honest. The pain is slowly subsiding. We'll do the best we can to block that one out. I probably won't enjoy the Super Bowl as much as normal, but I am looking forward to next week. We can cover the Super Bowl with some props, give some in-depth insight on that. So definitely tune in to us next week. We might be able to have a couple other guests on that as well.
And make sure you tune into our YouTube channels because you can get this stuff live. And a lot of times when we're doing stuff, the line moves afterwards. That happens, not necessarily by us, but like if you're on the right side of things, other larger bettors are going to be on that side too. And it's just a matter of time. So, you get the shows when we actually record them. Well, this one's an obvious one, but when Kyle does his thing, when I do my thing, it's kind of an advantage. Now I know it's during the day and it's kind of hard for some people, but you can always do it, during your breaks or just check it out anytime you can. But our YouTube channels have been doing well. And, a lot of people are chiming in and I really appreciate that from all you listeners out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Tune in. And if you don't watch it live, you can always check it out later in the day. A lot of the stuff still applies. You'll get those notifications if you're subscribed, and you can hit the bell as well. So definitely appreciate everybody who tunes in.
Absolutely. Well, let's move into some college basketball then. And we have some big games already on Friday. And there's it's nice to see a little Mountain West on Friday. Usually it's more like Metro Atlantic, Athletic, and MAC conferences. You see a lot on Friday, but it's cool to see the Metro or the Mountain West actually take part a little bit more this weekend. And I'm going to share my screen here. Just wanted to talk about a couple of the bigger games. First of all, Boise State's the biggest game. And that's obviously Kyle's hat right there, the Broncos. It's blue like it should be. Boise State at San Diego State. Now you're looking at like 5.5 and 6.5 in some of these books if you really want to shop around. The total of this is 134.5. Kyle, I'm really curious to see if you have an angle on this one.
Yeah, Kiev, I think there's been quite a few people suggest that Boise State might be overrated based on some of the luck factors. I know Shot Quality thinks that they've been a bit fortunate so far in this season. Love the insight from, Ken Palm and Shot Quality and those different types of sources. I do kind of think that the market is already pricing in the fact that Boise State may have been a bit fortunate this year, because if you look at this number, 5.5 or 6, definitely shop around. This one has come down a bit, 6.5 down to 5.5 most places. Kiev, I still lean Boise State if I had to take a side in this one. San Diego State, not a team that I love to lay a bunch of points with. They're a very good defensive team. This is a team where San Diego State relies so much on Matt Bradley. And I kind of joke that maybe I'm still a bit pissed off at San Diego State from losing in that first NCAA tournament game last year against Creighton. I had San Diego State in that one. They lead by like 20 points and blow it. I think that was an overtime game, if I remember correct. So San Diego State can get very predictable on offense. And I think Boise State's a really well-coached team. I like Rice a lot as a coach. I think Boise State can hang around in a game like this. A fairly low total, 134.5. I think the tempo will be relatively quick, but both teams are really good defensively. So I lean Boise State here in this one. What about you, Kiev?
I did a numbers grab on Boise at +7 because I think even with the injury factor, and I did this last night, and I thought I might be giving it out, but I'm still not sure about the injuries. Mm-hmm. Marcus Shaver is questionable, and as you can see, he takes 24.5% of the shots, plays a good amount of minutes. Obviously, his assist rate's really high, being the point guard. So he is a little bit banged up. I expect him to play in this big game, but that's why another reason why this number is a little bit high, and the books knew it when they opened it up. So basically, you're looking at Marcus Shaver, who's questionable here, and you're also looking at Smith, who's a pretty good role player himself. He's actually above a role player. He plays 67% of the minutes. He's also questionable. Smith did not play in the last, or sorry, he did play in the last game, but he went out against Air Force, as you can see. And then with Shaver, I thought that he got injured at the very end of this game. I think this game's big enough for them to both play it. Now, if I get an injury report saying that they're both out, I'm going to quickly flip to San Diego State and see if I can catch me a middle, or I'll just take the under team total on Boise State, which sometimes works out well because sometimes you can hit both if something like that happens. So that's just the way I like to strategize when I bet this. But the two injuries are partially the reason. But yeah, I will say that Boise State is a legit team. And last year, I would have said, they were a little bit overrated in the 20s. I actually think with this landscape of basketball, I think that Boise State might be rated correctly. Big win against Texas A&M. They're taking care of business pretty much everywhere they're going. A little bit bad on the road, but lots of the road games are at least close. Nevada, 2-point loss, New Mexico overtime, and stuff like that. So I agree with you there. We have a question from Jason Rami. Youngstown State unders frustrating. But on to today, I guess that was one of those from yesterday. Air Force, nice dog winners against Boise and New Mexico State's thoughts on them tonight. Well, Air Force is obviously playing Nevada tonight. They're just a drain you team, I mean, I always look at them as, is their defense good enough to cover the under? That's always my thoughts with Air Force, Kyle. So Nevada is a very good team. I lean to the under in this game. I didn't take it because I am just curious about what Nevada is going to do at home. I'm a little bit of a little afraid of Nevada at home. Their average possession length is a little bit more towards the average than the defenses are playing them. Although they don't shoot three that well, they're just kind of solid on both sides of the ball, as you can see by their adjusted efficiency. Any game that Air Force is in with an over 10-point spread, you got to look towards the under. And I guess my lean, I think the spread's probably close to 10. I would lean the dog in this. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's 11, some even 11 and a half here on Air Force. So my lean would be Air Force. I think you could say that this is a questionable spot for Nevada. They just beat San Diego State in that huge game on Tuesday night. Then they go play New Mexico on the road in their next game. So this is kind of that sandwich game that, it's just Air Force is the way they could look at a game like that. The thing that concerns me a bit about Air Force is they have laid a couple eggs on the road, and they're a very good home team, great elevation advantage. Pretty bad look to lose by 4 to Bowling Green on the road. Also a 30-point loss on the road against San Jose State. That one's really how did that happen? But you have to lean Air Force getting that many points the way they play. They slow the game down. There's not that many possessions. 11 and a half feels like quite a few. Strength of schedule wise, Air Force played a really weak non-conference schedule. That obviously concerns me a bit too, but I think all that's baked into the number. At 11 or 11 and a half, I would certainly lean Air Force.
Yeah. Also, their last two away games, they gave up 81 and 82. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't explain that San Jose State one either. That must have been a crusher. I'm guessing that was probably one that everyone thought would go under. Look at, I mean, what was the prediction? 124 in this one? Because San Jose State is a very slow game too. So this was one of those super low totals that probably was over with 10 minutes left in the game, and you're like scratching your head.
San Jose State 1.44 points per possession in that game was just insane efficiency. So definitely Air Force's defense questionable, especially in league play, but the way they slow the game down, 11 and a half points is quite a bit.
Yeah, it certainly is. So let's talk about, is there another Friday game you want to get into, or should we get into Saturday?
Well, I mean, I don't have any strong opinion on it, but I will say if you're tuning in to college basketball Friday night, maybe you're trying to handicap the Saturday slate, having one of those late nights, but also trying to catch the games going on. Akron and Kent. Kent at Akron is a really good game tonight as well. I'm not going to bet on that game. I do want to try to watch some of that game. Those two teams really, really hate each other. Great matchup there. I think the line at Akron -1 is pretty fair. The total is 133 and a half. I had 131, but I kind of hate to take an under. Those two teams have a history of playing in games that have a bunch of fouls in it. There's been technical fouls, ref shows in that game because they really have to keep those teams apart. They really get into it a lot. So I don't have a strong opinion on that game, but I think it's a great game here tonight.
Well, if it's Foul City, you're looking at 133 ish for Ken Palm's score. And so if you want to look at the actual number here, Kent would be 133 and a half, 134. That would, the fouls would definitely lean you towards the over. Kent's a little bit faster than average, 94 on average possession length. Akron a little bit slower, 268th at average possession length. But Kent plays the defense. They're number 34 ranked in adjusted efficiency on defense. So that's really good. And that's what could keep it under if they're slowing Akron enough down. But Akron's solid. I tried to fade Akron last Tuesday against Buffalo, and I really ate my words on that one. So I'm not going to be involved in this one either. Let's move into Saturday's slate then. And I always like to pull up Haslametrics because Haslametrics has nicely laid out for you, and he has his own predictions in there. So shout out to Eric Haslam for this one. But there's some amazing games. I'm going to start with St. Mary's versus Gonzaga, and the reason I'm starting out with it because this is maybe the best game of the weekend. I know Tennessee Auburn. I'm gonna say thumbs down. 10 point spread. No, the best game of the weekend is St. Mary's versus Gonzaga, and it's amazing to see St. Mary's being predicted 6.5 points better on Haslametrics. And if you want to pull up St. Mary's, number 7 on Ken Palm, very slow play. As you can see, they're a 5-point favorite in Gonzaga. Well, I'm going to call BS. And I know that the market is going, in general, follows Ken Palm, and maybe they open it at 5. But if they open it at 5, grab Gonzaga here. It's going to end up around 3, 2.5, 3 points. But what I'm going to say is that how often, Kyle, do you think Gonzaga since 2018 has been a dog in all games, including the tournament?
Man, it couldn't be very many. That's a tough question. It's got to be what, single digits?
Four times. Four times. And so, I mean, if you look since 2012, it's 20 times. Think about that, because 10 years of basketball, 32 games a year roughly with tournaments and everything, that not even like 2/3 of a year they've been a dog. And that's just amazing. So this is just a completely new animal from Mark Few. And Gonzaga was a great dog, if you remember, until they got popular. Mark Few started in 2001, 2002. And then, in 2007, 8, people started saying, wow, they shouldn't be a dog anymore. And then they were a dog much less frequently. But they performed very well early as a dog. Now I'm going to say they're going to be disrespected here. I, to be honest with you, Kyle, I don't know what it is, but I like Gonzaga almost better than I did last year. And I watched them closely against Pacific, Portland, Santa Clara. They just have some really great transfers. Raseel Bolton's still there. I love Malachi Smith from Chattanooga. I think this team is just stacked. They have the good youngsters there, Ben Gregg, Julian Strother. I'm a big fan of what they're doing over there. And Drew Timme is Drew Timme. He's going to come in with an attitude. I like St. Mary's as a team, but there's no way that you can tell me that this team is number 7 in the nation right now. So I'm going to call them BS. And I know they've taken care of business against the smaller schools. Good for them. But they are just not where they should be. I'm going to be on Gonzaga probably at any price, especially as a dog. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Kiev, I agree with you on almost everything you said. I don't know if Gonzaga is better than last year. That's the only thing that I would question it. But I think that this will be a disrespectful line, even at that. And I was kind of looking through some of the other metrics site. Haslametrics has them favored by over 6. Bart Torvik has St. Mary's by 8.5, which is, I like Torvik stuff for sure. And it's just his numbers. If anything is 5 or above, then it's too much, definitely. Gonzaga is so supremely talented compared to St. Mary's. They can't be much of an underdog against them, even in St. Mary's. And I think St. Mary's is a really well-coached team. I don't think Kiev would disagree with that. Everybody likes Randy Bennett and the job he's done, but they have played several close games here lately. Even their game last night, San Francisco had a chance to win that game. The final score is not very indicative of how that game was going. San Francisco led by a point with like 4 minutes left in the game. They were very fortunate to beat BYU on the road. I think Gonzaga, from a talent standpoint, is so much more talented. If you're catching 5.5 points, you have to take Gonzaga. So this is one I'm going to be interested to see the opener here in this one. And I would agree with Kiev that you probably want to grab that one early, because I do think there'll be some sharp people taking Gonzaga plus the points here.
Wonderful, Kyle. You have a question. Your lean on the total of VCU 141. That would be tonight versus St. Louis. It looks like Ken Palm has 143. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had 142.5 for this one, and I do lean the over. I'm not going to bet it personally, but that would be the way I would bet it if I had to. I think VCU's defense is not quite as good as it's been in some of the recent years. St. Louis should provide the tempo. They're 78th in average possession length. So I think the over would be my lean in that one. Although, like I said, it's just a slight lean, not a big play or anything.
Yeah. The problem with VCU is they turn the ball over, so that could go over. I mean, if they have a good day where their defense is really 24th in the nation, they're not turning the ball over, that's going to go under. If they're turning the ball over like this, it can go over. That's my thoughts.
Yeah,
but,
it's hard to predict whether their turnovers will lead to easy buckets for the other team or it's just a wasted possession. So VCU games are tricky to handicap, to be honest. They do get to the line a lot. So, you'd be hoping that they get to the free throw line quite a bit in this game. But like I said, I have 142.5, and it would just be a lean to the over.
Yeah, for sure. Free throws, they do get to the line a lot. Let's move on to a game that you want to play on, or you want to pick to talk about. I believe maybe the Longhorns might be involved, Kyle.
Yeah, we've got Texas and Kansas State. Kiev, you remember the first game they played against each other where Kansas State went to Texas and won an NBA game, like 116 to 103.
I think it went to 1,000 points.
Yeah. I mean, if you had the under in that one, you probably lost with like 15 minutes left. In the
It's
game.
so fun looking at Ken Palm at this. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. Whenever you're looking at Kansas State or Texas, you're like, what is this? 116 to 103.
Why
That's no overtime either.
I know. Yeah. You would have thought that was triple overtime or something. That was like Youngstown State style. Apologies to Jason for that one. I think that might have lost in like double overtime on the under in that game last night. But Texas has been playing pretty good offense here of late. Obviously, they've had a strange season with the Chris Beard issues. And I kind of wondered what they'd be like afterwards. But they've been very efficient on offense. They're playing third quickest of any team in the Big 12. Kansas State is the team that stands out, though, because they're playing much faster than anybody else in the Big 12. I didn't know exactly what to expect with Jerome Tang as their coach, but they're really running and gunning. This is a team that's very capable of scoring. Their offense is third efficiency-wise in the Big 12, which has actually been pretty good offensive-wise this year compared to people's expectations. Kiev, I think this is another decent overplay here in this one. So I'm not going to go with I know it's probably some kind of wise thought to say, look how high the first game was, bet the under. I think that might be overthinking in a game like this. I mean, even if you look at shot qualities numbers, that first game, now it shouldn't have been 209 points or 219 points, but I believe the expected score, I'm going to pull this up while I'm talking here, but the expected score in that one was still far above the actual posted total in the game. So it wasn't as much of a fluke as you would think. It was 116-103, and they think it should have been 88-85. Well, 88-85 is going to be plenty to get you over a total that probably is about 150 and a half in a game like this. I do think the over will get bet up based on what's happened with these two teams. So kind of like what Kiev said in the first game. I think if you do like the over, you probably want to bet it early on here.
Some teams just play each other the different ways, and when they see each other, they're running. They see the opportunity. If you look over here on Torvik and the pace, that one went to 82 possessions, like you said. So 75 against even a team like Oklahoma State. Texas is pushing pace without Chris Beard being there anymore. So I think he was the guy that maybe slowed him down a little bit. But this is an easy over play if it's around the 151 that Ken Pom says. I'm not a big buyer of Kansas State's defense being in the top 30 now. I know they've done well guarding the three, and that you can see right here. But, three balls, a lot of rebounds are flying all over the place when that happens. They're not a good defensive rebounding team. I think there's going to be a lot of second chance points here because they focus on the offensive rebounds. And, Texas, kind of mediocre, but I expect an offensive game as well on this one. Let's go a little hodgepodge then real quick. There's some wonderful games. I'm just going to look at this Tennessee-Auburn. I think Auburn's overrated. Do I want to lay 10 with Tennessee? I'm not sure, but I certainly won't bet Auburn in this game. I think Auburn, they're coming off a win against Georgia. Kind of got off the schneid a little bit after that West Virginia loss, but Tennessee coming off that ugly loss at Florida, they know they're a better team. Now, I don't like Rick Barnes late in the season. I don't know if I'd call it late in the season yet, but I'm just saying this could be a blowout. So Haslametrics likes it to be a blowout. I would assume that Tennessee is, 10 points as well there. So just wanted to mention that. Any hodgepodge games you like, Kyle, that you want to look at? I'll pull up Haslametrics here.
I think both Auburn and Tennessee are overrated, to be honest. Maybe a good bounce back spot for Tennessee. We're getting really close to that range where it's Rick Barnes fade time of the year. We're not quite there yet, probably, but I'll probably get on one of my Rick Barnes fade rants here in the next couple of weeks. So be ready for that. But I think Tennessee might be in a good spot in that game. As far as another quick game to hit here, how about Texas Tech and Baylor in the Big 12? I feel like I'm just talking Big 12 only here today. We'll hit a couple other, obviously, as well. But Texas Tech coming off that massive comeback win against Iowa State, where Iowa State just absolutely fell apart. Embarrassing way to lose. Baylor, a team that I think is probably better than a lot of people think at this point. I think they're better than the 14th best team in the country, which is what Ken Pom has them at right now. So I kind of think this could be a decent spot to play Baylor laying the points. I see Ken Pom has 9. I don't know what Haslametrics has on that.
Has it at about 8.
Okay, so
8
I think Baylor laying the points there would be the way I'd look toward that one. Do you have any lean on that one?
Yeah, definitely laying the points with Baylor. Texas Tech, very fraudulent team, and they tend to give up at the end of their games. I like Baylor at home a ton. Look what they did to Kansas at home. A pretty easy win. Arkansas was a tougher fight, but Arkansas also was playing for tournament seeds and things like that. They've had a very disappointing season. Remember, Arkansas was the preseason darling, kind of coming into the league this year, them and Creighton anyway. So you kind of remember that. Texas Tech, when they get beat bad in many cases. Kansas State beat them away 68-58. West Virginia embarrassed them at home 76-61. And, I think that I like Bacho, and I just think their guards are bad. I don't like their guards, and that's where Baylor has guards. Flagler, Cryer, they're a very guard-oriented team. I mean, just looking at what they match up on Haslametrics, near proximity. Texas Tech, both of these guys are good at near proximity, but Baylor is going to have the better 3-point shooting. Texas Tech does not guard the 3 that well, only 141st in the nation at guarding the 3. Baylor guards the 3 at a much higher clip. So, looking at those two stats, I definitely like Baylor. I would lay the Baylor up to 9 points at the most, though. I don't know if I would get into the double digits. I think 9 points is fine. They're at home. This could be an easy win for them as well. Another quick game, though, Kansas, Iowa State. I love that this is going to be close to pick 'em, and I think that it's probably correct, this spread. But what I will say is Iowa State is a very good at-home team, seventh on Haslametrics at the away home discrepancy. So, keep that in mind. They're going to want to rebound after some disappointing performances. They're up to Texas Tech with 12 minutes left by 23 points. And then they lose and not even cover. It was just an amazing crumble. But, I don't expect Iowa State to do this at home. I love the way Iowa State plays defense. They frustrate teams. Number one in field goals attempted, on defense. So I love that. And Kansas actually has a pretty good defense too, but I just don't see it with them. I think the Big 12 is just like the Big 10, a very home-friendly type atmosphere. So I'm gonna possibly lay it with Iowa State if I get less than 2 points.
I don't know. I don't know if I like this one too much. I do like backing Iowa State at home, but I think Kansas is so much more talented that it concerns me a bit. So I think that's a game I'd rather pass on, honestly, and look for other spots on Saturday. Kiev, let me bring up a mid-major game. See, Tony says here, do you like the mid-majors more? Yeah, I usually do like the mid-majors more. And Kiev, I had a guy ask me earlier this week, like, do you like to go deep into the things, or do you like to talk about the big games? And somebody answered like, "Gee, you must not follow Kyle very often, like this," because I definitely dive deep for the under the radar games. Let's talk real quick about a North Texas and Rice game here in Conference USA. I like following North Texas. I think they're a supremely well coached team. Grant McCaslin, very, very good coach. They lost to Rice at home by 12 points. I believe they were favored by double digits in that game. Now they go back to Rice. Ken Palm has North Texas by 3. I'll be interested to see what that line comes out at. I think North Texas probably gets revenge in that game. So at 3, I would lean North Texas. Again, I kind of like the under because North Texas always controls the pace very well. To be fair, I did lose the under in the first game when they played by half a point. So one of those hooks that got me, but I do lean the under again. I think North Texas, good road revenge spot. And over the years, that's been a really good angle in college basketball, is to take a team that's the better team that lost at home in the first game and then bet on them in the road in the second game.
Yeah, yep, and only a 3-point spread. Rice is disappointed at home a few times themselves, and I know that they have a kind of average-ish home court rating, but no, North Texas is going to remember this. And another reason why they remember it, Kyle, is because they're going to be an at-large team trying to get a bid. Just this one bad loss affects them a lot more than like Big Ten play, So they're looking at this. They need to run the table here. I mean, they're probably out of the tournament now. They're not a bubble team because they have no big wins, except for UAB, I guess, which is number 69. Yeah, Rice is a little fraudulent, I think. I don't like Rice either. I would lean North Texas if it's 3. And this was a bigger spread, obviously, when North Texas was at home. So road revenge is definitely a good angle. That brings us to our most likely dog to win outright, Kyle. Do you have one for this weekend? I think last week my Mississippi State won. I believe Hofstra won, which was a nice one for Will. So that was huge. So we're 2. What did you have last week?
I had Texas, which did not win. Now I did take Kansas against Kentucky in a game that we were breaking down, so that was a good outright win as an underdog.
Yes.
But the actual at the end of the game, the one that I took at the end didn't do well. Are we taking 3? Are we still saying with 3.5 ish?
I mean, the problem is mine never got 3.5. I thought it, Ken Palm had 4 and all that, and it actually ended up being like 2. But I mean, I picked it before the lines came out, so I didn't have a lot of options. So you can do what you want on this. If you think it'd be 3.5, better, but whatever you think.
All right, I'm going to take Santa Clara against San Francisco. Some of the sites have 3.5 or 4. Some have 3. So I think it's going to be right in that range. This is a big rivalry game as well. I like Santa Clara as far as being a really well-coached team. They just lost to Gonzaga on the road, and San Francisco just lost to St. Mary's on the road. So it's an interesting, really quick turnaround for both of these teams. I'm going to take the team that I think is better coached in Santa Clara here. They've had success against San Francisco here in the recent past as well. And we've already seen San Francisco lose some games at home. They lost to San Diego 80-68. They lost to UT Arlington 68-63. That one's not a very good look. So I think that they're both pretty good teams, but in this one where Santa Clara is definitely going to at least be the underdog, I'll take them to pull the upset.
Well, you can't argue with that. I mean, you're going to get probably plus 200. Maybe is it a 5-6 point spread? That's what I'm seeing.
Maybe plus 175 or something.
Okay. Guess all sites are a little bit different. That's Ken Palm's got this game as a 3, so there you go. Haslametrics has this game as more of a 78-72 game. So that's why I asked.
I hope that's what the line is then.
I mean, there you go. If it's a 3-point spread, I actually would probably like San Francisco at home because they are the better 3-point shooting team. 67th on Haslametrics, and Santa Clara's defense is 294th. But if it's a 6-point spread, I wouldn't touch it, and probably more value on taking a bigger money line dog. So that's one's yours. I'm gonna go with a big one, and we're gonna mess around with the Big East a little bit. And I've been hot and cold with the Big East, but I'm going with Nova, and the Nova is going to Creighton. I think Creighton's kind of in coast mode right now. Now they've been great since Kalkbrenner's come back. Obviously Kalkbrenner was out and they went on just an ugly streak here, but Nova is kind of, they're underrated. They're better than people think. And the reason that Villanova is better, and there were 73 on Ken Palm, they're better than that, is because they got one of their players back in Justin Moore. Justin Moore was injured all season, as you can see, and now he's back. Now he's getting his feet wet a little bit against Providence. I bet Marquette on February 1st, and I was lucky to win that. Villanova was winning that game all the way up to 40 minutes left. They kind of choked it away at the end, and I got a lucky cover on Marquette. I thought the Nova was just the more defensive-oriented team, especially with Moore back there. Now they're going to be playing a Creighton team that's a very solid Creighton team, obviously, and they're going to be a pretty high seed in the tournament. But, you're going to be looking at a massive 10-point spread here, and you're probably going to get plus 325, maybe even better here on the money line with Nova. Creighton's got Seton Hall on deck. They might be thinking a little bit about that. They had just kind of an easy win against Georgetown. And let's not forget that Xavier big win. Xavier lost their best player during that game, so that score is a little bit more inflated than it should be. I think Nova finally gets that big win that they got their guy back, and you're going to get a fat price on it. So that's what I'm going with, Kyle.
Man, I don't know. This is a gutsy play, Kiev. Kiev can pull out some of these huge underdogs that I kind of doubt, and he's won quite a few of them. So I'm not going to say anything too negative here, but if this one wins outright, I'm going to be texting Kiev right after the game saying what a call there, because I think Creighton's pretty good. I think Creighton's the team that has a good future. Wouldn't mind taking them to reach the Final Four or something like that as an underdog here. I think Creighton's a very good team. Villanova probably is undervalued as well based on Moore coming in, but this is a gutsy one. This is not one of those small dogs. He's going with a big one.
I'm calling for the big one here, and I'm sticking with it. I think Nova, even without Jay Wright, if they're in a massive get-up spot here. They're 10-12, so it's not like they're out of the tournament yet. And God, just imagining the name Villanova being out of the tournament after all these years is kind of crazy. But this is the game they need. They need this game if they want to have a chance at the dance. So motivationally, spot-wise, I like them. Metrically, I don't, but that's also because one of their best players have been out. So that's what I'm focusing on. And I'll expect that text message on Saturday, Kyle.
You got it coming your way if this one cashes in.
Great stuff, man. Where could our listeners and viewers get your great information in place?
So as we said before, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can click there below. Give this video a thumbs up as well, too. It helps us out. And then appreciate everybody who's tuned in and those who have commented here. You can follow my work at huntersportspicks.com. I have a free picks newsletter over there. I've been doing some videos here on YouTube as well, kind of breaking down slates quickly on some of these days in college basketball, so you can tune into those. My premium plays, there'll be plenty of them for Saturday. As you know, the slate's massive, so you can check out everything over there at huntersportspicks.com and follow me on Twitter at KyleHunterPicks.
All right, sounds good. Check us out, theoddsbreakers.com. We got some cappers on a roll. Sean Kanaki he went 7-0 last night. He's actually been heating up all season. We have some great free content there. I always do a buy low, sell high. I'll be publishing that within the next hour at the Odds Breakers for college basketball. So it's not just like we're picks. We're just kind of looking for teams that are overrated, underrated. So always got content there. And if you want to become a member, we're doing a promo. You get a free polo shirt, the Odds Breakers. You can go golfing with or anywhere you want. And just check us out. And we love to hear from you at the Odds Breakers. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this show. If you have any questions, feel free to tweet Kyle Hunter at Kyle Hunter Picks or us at the Odds Breakers. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend and go get some winners.
Thank you for watching Better Odds Sports Betting.